Hi, I'm Oscarito, and this is the movie BabyGirl. A successful businesswoman succumbs to the power of passion and seduces a young intern. Giving in to her fantasies, she risks losing everything, her career and family life. The movie begins with a love scene between Romy and Jacob. Romy, not fully satisfied, instead of discussing the matter with her husband, goes to another room where she catches up by watching adult films. The next morning, Romy is getting ready for work at a company specializing in the automation of robotic processes. While discussing domestic matters with her husband Jacob, a theatrical director, and their daughters Isabel and Nora, she notices an aggressive dog among the crowd near the building. A young man feeds the dog, pets it, and calls it a good girl before returning it to its owner. This tender and provocative scene of submission lingers in Romy's mind. At her workplace, Romy immediately establishes herself as a strong leader. She delivers inspiring speeches on camera, pays attention to every aspect of her business, builds trusting relationships with colleagues, and actively supports the promotion of gender equality within the company. During the day, while Romy is overseeing a new batch of interns, she notices among the otherwise nondescript faces a young man, Samuel, who asks uncomfortable questions. He is the same person who earlier calmed the aggressive dog. Later, when Romy asks Samuel to pour coffee, she inquires how he managed to communicate with the animal. He admits that he had hidden a cookie in his sleeve just for such an occasion. This is the first step toward the dark side of power. He offers the pastry to his boss, but she declines. That night, while Romy watches motivational videos, Jacob hints that it might be a good time to fulfill their marital duties. Romy shyly admits that she wants to watch an adult film with him, covering her face with a pillow in an attempt to stimulate his creative approach. However, Jacob is not fond of the philosophy of domination, even when presented as part of a role-playing game. During the Christmas party, Romy again notices Samuel when she goes out to smoke on the balcony, where the boss is spending time alone. He confesses that he chose her as a mentor during the internship. Returning to the dance floor, the woman closely watches the persistent young man, noticing how he removed the corporate yoke in the form of a tie from his neck. Arriving at work earlier than the other employees the next morning, Romy secretly picks up an armadillo from the floor and cools the management fervor in the cryo chamber, during which she involuntarily recalls the incident with Samuel's subordination of the dog. In the morning, she meets him in the elevator. He gives her compliments and says he can't wait for their meeting as a mentor. The woman notes that the newcomer is also talking to her assistant Esme, who is responsible, among other things, for the mentor program that Romy needs to oversee during his first official briefing as a mentor. During the briefing, Romy tells Samuel that most HR people are idiots who don't know what the company needs. After she told them to shove it with an unsolvable task, the company management fired her. 5 years later, she founded her own process automation company. She can quickly calculate how many ping pong balls fit in a room of a certain size. However, the bold intern manages to see through the true nature of his boss. He believes that behind her deceptively cold mask and iron discipline, there are suppressed feelings and secret fantasies of a dominant man. After the briefing, Romy tries to leave the room, but Samuel stops her at the exit to ultimately kiss her. A few days after the incident, the young man waits for Romy outside the building to find out why she hasn't replied to his messages. Although she is officially his mentor, Romy reminds him that an unwanted romantic tension has developed between them. However, the tension doesn't leave her. Thoughts of the forbidden haunt her before sleep, during family walks in the fresh air, and even during a spontaneous visit to the theater, her husband's domain. In the evening, Romy goes to a bar to drown her feminine sorrow with colleagues, but Samuel is already there. He doesn't approach her directly, but asserts his dominance from a distance, ordering her a glass of milk as a mocking hint at her supposed innocence. Returning home, Romy lies on the floor, changing clothes for her husband's premiere, preparing for a night of solitude. After the performance, she goes backstage to congratulate the troupe and her husband personally, but her attention is drawn to her phone. She is waiting for a message from Samuel. Instead, he leaves a note in her office, instructing her to meet him in secret. watching from outside to ensure she reads it. Early in the morning, Romy arrives at the specified hotel room where Samuel later joins her. She tries to put an end to their relationship, believing it to be unnatural, but he reminds her that she came voluntarily. Romy thinks she is drawn to the power she has over him, but Samuel counters by suggesting he could accuse her of harassment if he wanted to. An unconventional but effective tactic. He convinces her that the true reason for her attraction is not control but submission, stepping out of her comfort zone as a strong businesswoman. To prove his point, he commands her to stand in the corner, crawl on all fours, and eat candy from his hand like an obedient pet. Romy complies willingly, surrendering to her subconscious desires. These role-playing games culminate in a passionate night. The further office affair between Romy and Samuel unfolds in a familiar pattern. The boss pretends she is not interested in her subordinate, yet in her free time she harasses him in restrooms, offices, and hallways. The dominant boyfriend's orders are diligently followed. Romy picks up trash from the floor and submits to him everywhere. Surprisingly, this illicit relationship even strengthens her family life. Being satisfied, she treats her husband and children more kindly. She even secretly shares a cigarette with her eldest lesbian daughter, just to ensure her father remains unaware of her own hidden indulgences. However, soon she faces a new challenge. Samuel shows up at her house under the pretense of an internship. Annoyed by this turn of events, Romy hurriedly drives him away, warning him never to appear at her home again. She tries to break off their sinful affair by pushing him away. Yet when Samuel decides to transfer to another department to avoid her, Romy protests, arguing that such a move could raise unwanted questions and trigger an ethics investigation, which could have serious consequences for her as a manager. They conclude that it is better to simply part ways. The breakup negatively affects her relationship with her husband. One night, she finally admits to him that she has never once felt truly satisfied with him in their entire marriage. Soon, Romy rushes to the bar where Samuel works, but their brief meeting ends in nothing. The next day, the young man acts like an ordinary employee, but not for long. Soon, he resumes his dominant role, once again making his lustful boss submit to him. Afterward, they meet in a hotel where Samuel gives Romy orders while enjoying his control over her. As part of their games, they create a safe word, Jacob, the name of Romy's lawful husband. In the heat of the moment, she drinks milk from a bowl on the floor like an obedient cat. But the euphoria shatters when Samuel unexpectedly arrives at her daughter's birthday party with his assistant, Esme. Jealous of her lover's attention toward the younger woman, Romy creates a scene in the kitchen, breaking dishes in the process. Later at work, she confronts Esme, trying to uncover the nature of her relationship with Samuel and intentionally attempting to sow discord between them. In the evening, Romy goes out to a nightclub where Samuel is also present. After dancing intensely in a style reminiscent of Blade but without the bloodshed, she ends up taking drugs with him. Under the influence, she probes into his relationship with Esme. Samuel responds that their bond is different, as the two women are nothing alike. Returning home, Romy runs into her daughter, who wants to understand the state of their family and her relationship with her father. To calm her, Romy assures her that if divorce happens, it will only be on a phone screen. Seeing her daughter's tears, she pretends that everything is fine. The next morning, Esme arrives at their home. She reveals that she knows about the affair between her boss and the intern. She demands that Romy end it or face an official investigation. In exchange, Esme asks for a promotion. After this, Romy confesses to her husband that she has harbored a secret desire since childhood, not to punish, but to be humiliated. Offended and unable to forgive her, Jacob throws her out, sending her to their summer house by the sea. Late at night, Romy, lying alone, notices Samuel swimming in the pool. Succumbing to her impulses, she approaches him and he pulls her into the water. Later, Jacob arrives and a brutal fistfight breaks out between him and the young lover. Plates shatter, furniture breaks, and tempers flare. After the fight, Jacob tells Samuel that Romy only used him to satisfy her hidden cravings. Samuel, however, coolly responds that Jacob is out of touch with the truth. When Jacob suffers a panic attack, Samuel unexpectedly hands him a glass of water, expressing regret. Pretending he had been unaware of Romy's family, Samuel silently walks away into the night. Following these events, the ambitious Esme secures her promotion. She records a message for future employees, stating that women in this company will receive everything they deserve, except for well-earned slaps. Meanwhile, Romy remains at the seaside house. Her daughter pleads with her to come home, saying that their father needs her. Eventually, Romy returns to both her home and her workplace. Her boss visits her office, hinting that he knows about her affair with Samuel and suggesting they continue it with him instead. In response, Romy boldly points to the door. The film ends with a passionate scene between Romy and her husband, symbolizing her return to her old life. The reconciliation is interwoven with shots of dog training, underscoring the idea that the difference between submissive women and animals is merely in who holds them firmly by the scruff of the neck.